Before God ever brings anything into the open, He begins by working in the unseen places of your life, deep within your thoughts, your identity, your character, and your spirit. And the reason this work feels so quiet, so hidden, and sometimes even so confusing is because God is doing something foundational, something that cannot be rushed and cannot be exposed too early. Breakthrough doesn't start in the spotlight. It begins in the soil. It begins in the trenches where nobody is applauding, nobody is watching, and sometimes not even you understand what He's doing. But that's exactly how God operates. He forms greatness in silence so that when it appears, it doesn't collapse under the weight of its own glory. Have you ever felt like God was distant, when in reality, He was working more deeply in you than ever before? That is how divine preparation feels. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's often disguised as frustration, waiting, pruning, and stretching. But inside all of that, God is reshaping something in you so that when the breakthrough appears, you're not just blessed, you're ready. And this deep work, this unseen spiritual construction, often happens while you're asking God why nothing is happening. You look at your life and think, where is the progress? Where is the change? Where is the breakthrough I've been praying for? But God says, I'm doing more in the dark than you realize. Because if He revealed the blessing before He finished forming you, the very blessing you asked for would break you. God protects you by developing you. Sometimes it feels like God hides you. You watch others being elevated, stepping into opportunities, receiving what looks like acceleration, and you wonder why your life seems to be moving slower than everyone else's. But the truth is, God hides those He plans to reveal in power. Hidden seasons are not punishment, they're preservation. They're the time God uses to build the foundation that will hold your future. This is why certain doors don't open immediately. This is why certain people walk away. This is why certain opportunities suddenly fade. Because if they stayed, they would interfere with what God is planting deep inside you. And when God is planting something deep, He protects the soil. He protects the environment. He protects the timing. God knows exactly when the roots are strong enough for the tree to break the surface. And it's usually in this hidden process that you start discovering things about yourself. Old wounds, old insecurities, old habits, old ways of thinking that you didn't even realize were shaping your decisions. That's because God isn't just preparing a blessing for you, He's preparing you for the blessing. He goes inward before He goes outward. He touches the parts of your heart that you've tried to ignore. He brings to the surface things you thought you buried. He shows you what needs healing, what needs releasing, what needs renewing, all because He's getting ready to place something greater on your life. But understand this, God never wastes your hidden season. The tears you cry in private are watering the seeds of your next level. The prayers you whisper when no one is around are shaping your spiritual authority. The struggles you push through silently are building spiritual muscle. And the moments where you think nothing is happening are actually the moments where everything is happening. It's like God lowers the volume of your surroundings just so He can raise the volume of your spirit. He pulls you away from noise so you can hear His direction more clearly. He prunes your circle so you're not carrying people into the next season who were only meant for the last one. He slows the pace just enough so that the lesson can take root. Because what He's about to reveal through you is not small, it's not temporary, it's not ordinary. It's the kind of breakthrough that requires depth. And sometimes depth feels like discomfort. It feels like being stretched. It feels like being misunderstood. It feels like something is being taken away. But God doesn't take anything unless He's making room for something better. He cuts so He can shape. He delays so He can strengthen. He hides so He can unveil. And when God finally reveals what He's been preparing, it will make sense why He took His time. It will make sense why He closed certain doors. It will make sense why He kept you hidden for a season. Because when God reveals, He reveals with purpose. He reveals with timing. He reveals with power. What He brings into your life after a deep season of inner work is always bigger, stronger, and more transformative than anything you could have rushed on your own. God's deep work is the proof that your breakthrough is closer than you think. You know, there's a moment in every spiritual journey where you feel like you've reached the end of your strength. Not a moment of weakness, but a moment where everything inside you feels stretched, pressured, and tested. It's that point where your prayers feel heavier, your thoughts feel louder, and your heart feels tired from holding on. And it's in that moment, right at your breaking point, that something powerful is happening. Something you can't see, but you can feel in your spirit. Because the breaking point is never the end, it's the point right before God shifts everything. There's a pattern in the way God moves, and once you learn it, your perspective changes forever. Right before God ushers in a breakthrough, there is almost always a season where the pressure intensifies. The resistance increases. The spiritual atmosphere becomes heavier. Not because God is punishing you, not because He has abandoned you, but because heaven is preparing to release something that hell is terrified of. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't on the verge of elevation. The enemy doesn't fight where there is no future. The enemy fights hardest where God is about to move strongest. So when you feel that pressure, when you feel that emotional fatigue, when you feel like you're carrying more than you can handle, understand that something is being born in your life. Growth always feels like stretching. Transformation always feels like tension. Breakthrough always arrives after a season where you think you might break. And the reason many people don't recognize this moment for what it is because a breaking point feels messy. It feels uncertain. It feels like everything is falling apart. But what if it's not falling apart? What if it's falling into place? What if the pressure you're feeling is not a sign of defeat, but a sign of delivery? What if God is allowing everything unnecessary to be squeezed out of your life so you can step into a new level without the weight of the old? Think about it. Some of your greatest spiritual insights didn't come from seasons of comfort. They came from seasons of struggle. Some of your deepest prayers weren't prayed in moments of strength. They were prayed when your heart was raw, when your tears were real, when you didn't have fancy words, just a desperate cry for God to move. That's the prayer that touches heaven. That's the moment God leans in closer. And that's the atmosphere where breakthrough is born. The breaking point strips you of the illusion that you can do everything in your own strength. It pushes you into a place where you surrender, where you say, God, I can't carry this on my own. And when you lay it down, that's when God steps in. That's when His strength becomes your strength. That's when His wisdom becomes your clarity. That's when His timing begins to unfold in front of you. And here's the beautiful truth. God never lets the breaking point break you. He allows the pressure, but He protects your soul. He allows the stretching, but He sustains your spirit. He allows the fire, but He stands with you in the flames. So even when you feel like you're at your limit, God knows you're closer to breakthrough than you think. Sometimes the breaking point isn't even about the situation. Sometimes it's about breaking old patterns, old attitudes, old fears, old insecurities. God will allow a moment of intensity so that the thing holding you back finally snaps. That breaking is necessary because certain chains don't fall off gently. They break under pressure. Certain mindsets don't change casually. They shift when your spirit has had enough of living beneath your calling. And sometimes the pressure is God saying, it's time. No more shrinking. No more limiting yourself. No more believing lies about who you are. The breaking point becomes the birthplace of a new version of you, stronger, clearer, more grounded, more aligned with your purpose. You'll look back one day and realize that the moment you thought would destroy you was the moment God was shaping you. You'll see that the tears were watering your future, that the struggle was stretching your capacity, that the pressure was pushing you into a greater dimension. This is why you can't quit at the breaking point. You can't give up when everything feels heavy. You can't walk away from what God is building when you're this close to seeing it manifest. The enemy wants you to believe that pressure means defeat, but God is whispering, pressure means you're about to step into something new. And when the breakthrough comes, and it will, you'll realize that God wasn't late. He wasn't silent. He wasn't ignoring you. He was preparing you. He was strengthening you. He was positioning you for something that required every ounce of faith, resilience, and growth He developed in you during that breaking point. Your breaking point is not the end. It's a turning point before everything in your life shifts. There comes a point in your journey where you start wondering why things are taking so long. You pray, you plan, you prepare, and still the door doesn't open. Still the opportunity doesn't show up. Still the promise feels distant. And in those moments, it's so easy to assume that God has forgotten you, or that maybe you misheard Him, or maybe the dream wasn't meant for you after all. But what if the delay isn't rejection? What if the delay is alignment? What if God is not denying you? He's setting you up. See, delay in the hands of God is one of the most misunderstood tools of transformation. We look at delay as inactivity, but God looks at it as orchestration. While you're waiting, He's arranging. While you're questioning, He's preparing. While you're wondering, He's positioning people, timing, resources, and circumstances so that when the breakthrough arrives, it arrives with stability, longevity, and purpose. God doesn't do rush blessings, He does refined ones. There's a reason God doesn't let certain things happen when you want them to. Because if He gave it to you too early, you might mishandle it. You might not be ready emotionally, spiritually, or mentally. You might interpret the blessing as ordinary when God wants it to be extraordinary. Timing is not just about when you're ready to receive, it's also about when the world is ready to recognize what He's placed inside you. And isn't it interesting how delay can reveal things you didn't see? It reveals your heart. It reveals your faith. It reveals your patience. It reveals the places where you still rely on your own understanding. And sometimes it even reveals the things you're still attached to. Delay forces you to confront the parts of your life that can't go with you into the next season. God isn't just delaying the blessing, He's developing the one who will steward the blessing. Sometimes the delay is God protecting you from something you can't see yet. Maybe the opportunity you wanted wasn't designed to last. Maybe the relationship you thought was perfect would have drained you. Maybe the door you begged God to open would have led you into a place that would have weakened you instead of growing you. And instead of giving you what you want, God gives you time. Time to grow, time to heal, time to strengthen, time to align with the life He actually intended for you. And the beautiful thing about divine delay is that it's not stillness, it's strategy. God is moving pieces you didn't even know were part of your story. He's working on people who haven't even entered your life yet. He's preparing situations that will intersect with your path at exactly the right moment. You think nothing is happening, but heaven is busy. Heaven is arranging divine appointments, unexpected opportunities, supernatural favor, connections, clarity, and timing you could never achieve on your own. Let me tell you something. When God is getting ready to release something significant in your life, He slows things down before He accelerates them. He quiets your environment. He reduces distractions. He narrows your focus. He molds your mindset. Because acceleration without preparation creates spiritual whiplash. God wants you strong enough, not just to enter the next level, but to remain in it. And while you're waiting, God is testing your trust. Not because He wants to see you struggle, but because trust is the foundation of destiny. If you can praise Him in delay, you can carry His glory in fulfillment. If you can trust Him when nothing is moving, you'll walk with confidence when everything starts moving at once. The waiting season trains your spirit to recognize that God's timing is never random. It's calculated with your victory in mind. So don't misinterpret the quiet season. Don't misinterpret the slow season. Don't misinterpret the moments where it feels like God is far away. He's closer than you think. Delays are when He does His deepest work. Delays are when He shapes things you didn't know needed shaping. Delays are when He builds the roots that hold the tree. Delays are when He makes sure that when the blessing arrives, it will not only bless you, but keep blessing you. And the moment God says, now, every delay will make sense. Every closed door will make sense. Every disappointment will make sense. Every waiting season will feel worth it. Because when God releases what He has prepared for you, it will come with clarity, peace, strength, and confirmation. You won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. It will fit the way purpose fits. It will align the way destiny aligns. It will flow in a way that only God can orchestrate. So when it seems like God is taking His time, remember, He's not delaying your breakthrough. He's perfecting it. There comes a moment in your walk with God when you begin to realize something important. Your breakthrough isn't just about what changes around you. It's about what God is transforming within you. We often pray for the situation to shift, for the door to open, for the opportunity to appear, but God is looking at something much deeper. He's looking at your heart, your patterns, your mindset, your identity. Because if He elevates you without transforming you, the blessing won't last. Breakthrough is not something God simply hands you, it's something He prepares you to carry. And that's why God starts with you. Before He changes your circumstances, He changes your perspective. Before He moves the mountain, He strengthens your faith. Before He brings new people into your life, He reveals who shouldn't be there anymore. Before He releases favor, He removes the insecurities that would sabotage it. Everything God does externally flows from what He is doing internally. Sometimes that inner transformation doesn't feel glamorous. It doesn't feel exciting. It feels like God is shining a light on the areas you've tried to keep hidden. It feels like He's challenging the habits you've grown comfortable with. It feels like He's asking you to release what you're still clinging to. And it's easy to wonder why the process feels so personal, so emotional, so intense. But it's because God is not trying to give you a temporary shift. He's building a permanent change. There are certain blessings you can't hold on to with old thinking. Certain opportunities you can't manage with broken patterns. Certain callings you can't walk into with a wounded identity. So God takes you through a season where He begins to heal things you didn't even know were affecting your destiny. He begins to confront beliefs you didn't realize were limiting you. He begins to reshape the way you see yourself. Because how you see yourself determines how far you can go. Maybe you're in a season right now where God is peeling back layers you never intended to revisit. Memories you suppressed, fears you ignored, disappointments you buried. And you might be asking, God, why are you bringing this up now? It's because you're stepping into a future where those things can't go with you. God isn't exposing those areas to shame you. He's exposing them to heal you. He's bringing them to the surface because He's preparing to remove their power over your life. Transformation takes courage. It takes honesty. It takes the willingness to let God touch the areas that hurt. Sometimes it requires letting go of your old self so you can embrace the version of you that God always saw. It means leaving behind the mindset that kept you playing small. It means refusing to repeat cycles that kept you stuck. It means stepping into a level of boldness, clarity, and confidence you didn't even know you were capable of carrying. And here's the beautiful thing. The transformation doesn't just prepare you, it protects you. Without inner growth, elevation becomes dangerous. It magnifies flaws that were never addressed. It exposes wounds that were never healed. But when God transforms you first, the blessing becomes sustainable. You don't just step into breakthrough. You know how to remain in it. You begin making decisions with wisdom instead of fear. You start seeing opportunities through discernment instead of desperation. You interact with people from a place of identity instead of insecurity. You walk with a calm strength that doesn't crumble when challenges arise. That's the kind of person God is shaping you into, someone who can carry the weight of what they prayed for. And sometimes the biggest sign that God is transforming you is that the things that used to trigger you don't anymore. The things that used to distract you no longer have power. The things that used to break you now strengthen you. Slowly, quietly, steadily, God aligns your inner world with His plan for your outer world. You'll know transformation is happening when your prayers shift. You stop praying just for God to remove the struggle, and you start praying for Him to refine you through it. You stop asking for shortcuts and start asking for wisdom. You stop saying, God, change them, and start saying, God, change me. Because the moment you change, everything around you begins to change too. When breakthrough finally comes, and it will, you'll realize the greatest miracle wasn't the open door or the answered prayer. The greatest miracle was the person you became along the way. And that person is ready, steady, and equipped for what God is bringing next. God is transforming you because the life He's calling you into requires the strongest, clearest, most healed version of you. There's something remarkable about the way God moves. You can go months, even years, praying, waiting, wondering, questioning, doing everything you know to do, and still nothing looks different. Everything feels still. Everything feels quiet. You start to think, maybe this is just how life will be. Maybe the breakthrough you hoped for got lost somewhere along the way. But just when you start to settle, God steps in with a suddenness that leaves you stunned. Because when God decides it's time, He doesn't move gradually. He moves suddenly. It's almost as though God lets things stay the same for a long time, so that when the shift happens, you know without a doubt it was Him. You know it wasn't luck, it wasn't coincidence, it wasn't your own strategy, it was divine timing. God specializes in those moments where everything changes at once. One conversation, one open door, one unexpected opportunity, one shift in your spirit, and suddenly what once seemed impossible becomes undeniable. You see, sudden moves of God are never random. They're the result of all the deep work, the stretching, the alignment, and the preparation He's been doing in you behind the scenes. It may look sudden on the outside, but it's layered with months or years of quiet spiritual development. When God moves suddenly, it's because the foundation is finally ready. The timing is finally right. The version of you that needed to emerge has finally been formed. And that's why you can't underestimate the quiet seasons. You can't despise the slow seasons. You can't misjudge the stillness. God often prepares you in secrecy so that He can bless you in visibility. And when the moment is right, He accelerates everything. God does not need a long timeline to shift your life. He only needs the right one. He doesn't need permission. He doesn't need approval. He doesn't need conditions to be perfect. When He moves, conditions bend to Him. It's the nature of God to bring sudden transformation. One moment you're in a place of uncertainty, and the next you have clarity. One moment you're struggling, and the next something breaks open. One moment you're overlooked, and the next you're positioned. One moment you're praying for a small answer, and the next God is overwhelming you with a blessing you didn't even see coming. And here's the surprising part. Many people give up right before the sudden move. They stop believing right before the shift. They stop praying right before the answer. They stop trusting right before the breakthrough appears, because waiting can feel endless. But that's how God works. He lets the waiting stretch your faith, and then He rewards that faith with a move that happens faster than you imagined. Think about the moments in your life where everything changed unexpectedly. Those weren't accidents. Those were divine appointments. God steps in suddenly because sudden moments create unmistakable testimonies. They leave you with no other explanation but God. They remind you that even when you couldn't see anything happening, He was working. Even when things looked motionless, heaven was in motion. Even when you felt forgotten, God was preparing your name to be called. And when God moves suddenly, there's a speed to His blessing that logic can't explain. Doors that were closed for years fly open without resistance. People who never noticed you begin to seek you out. Ideas you struggled with suddenly become clear. Opportunities that felt distant show up right at your doorstep. It's like everything that was held back gets released all at once. But don't misunderstand God's sudden moves. Don't bypass preparation. They reveal it. They show you that nothing you went through was wasted. Every struggle mattered. Every lesson mattered. Every delay mattered. Every moment of pressure. Every step of growth. Every tear. Every prayer. It all built the strength you needed for where God is taking you next. The sudden move is not the beginning of your breakthrough, it's the unveiling of it. It's the point where everything God has been building inside you finally manifests outside you. And when it happens, it won't confuse you. It will confirm everything you sensed in your spirit during the seasons where nothing made sense. So don't be surprised when God moves quickly after moving slowly. Don't be shocked when He accelerates you after a season that felt stagnant. Don't question it when He lifts you into places you couldn't reach on your own. This is how God works. Steady shaping, deep preparation, and then sudden elevation. What looks slow now is building the strength you'll need for the sudden shift that's coming next. There's something powerful about the way God brings breakthrough into your life. When it finally happens, when the tide shifts, when the door opens, when the prayer is answered, it becomes clear that the moment wasn't just about your success. It wasn't just about you getting what you hoped for. It wasn't just about things finally working out. The real purpose goes deeper. When God releases breakthrough, He does it in such a way that His fingerprints are all over it. He does it so unmistakably that when people see the transformation in your life, they don't just see you, they see Him. You see, God is not interested in giving you a breakthrough that only elevates your status. He wants to give you a breakthrough that elevates your testimony. Something that speaks louder than your talent, louder than your effort, louder than your strategy. Something that people can look at and say, there's no way they did that alone. That had to be God. And that's why sometimes God keeps you in that process longer than you expected. It's not because He's holding you back. It's because He's setting the stage. He's making sure that when the breakthrough unfolds, the story it tells brings Him glory. A story that draws people closer to faith. A story that reminds them that God still moves, still restores, still answers, still transforms. A story that becomes bigger than the blessing itself. Think about it. If everything happened on your timeline, in your strength, with your resources, and according to your plans, you might have been tempted to take the credit. But God delays certain things so that when the breakthrough comes, it humbles you. It awakens gratitude. It deepens reverence. It shifts the focus from what you did to what He did. Because God wants the world to see what He can accomplish through a surrendered heart, not simply what a human can accomplish through effort. And here's the beautiful thing. Your breakthrough doesn't just reveal His glory, it reveals His goodness. People who watched you struggle will see how you endured with faith. People who witnessed your setbacks will see how God turned them into stepping stones. People who know your weaknesses will see how God's strength carried you. Without even realizing it, your life becomes a message. One that speaks of God's faithfulness far louder than any words ever could. This is why your breakthrough is not just personal, it's purposeful. Your story will impact people you don't even know. Someone will gain hope because you didn't give up. Someone will choose to pray again because they saw God answer you. Someone will walk back toward God because your testimony reminded them that He still cares. Your breakthrough becomes a lighthouse for someone else's storm. But understand this, God doesn't reveal breakthrough to spotlight you. He reveals breakthrough to spotlight Himself through you. The promotion, the healing, the opportunity, the reconciliation, the open door, the provision, all of it becomes evidence of His love and His power. And that's why your process felt so deep. That's why the journey was so emotional. That's why the pressure was so intense. Had the battle been small, the testimony would have been small. Had the challenge been easy, the glory would have been limited. But because the process was deep, the glory will be unmistakable. There will come a moment when people will ask you, how did you make it? How did you get through that season? How did you keep going when everything was against you? And you will know the answer without hesitation. It was God. Only God. Because what He's preparing to do in your life is not something that you'll be able to downplay. It will be too big, too unexpected, too perfectly timed to give credit to anything else. Your breakthrough is about to carry a weight of purpose. It's going to restore your confidence, yes, but it will also restore someone else's faith. It will lift your spirit, yes, but it will also lift someone else's hope. It will bless your life, yes, but it will also point countless others back to the one who blesses. And when the moment arrives and you step into that breakthrough, you will realize that every tear, every prayer, every delay, and every moment of pressure was shaping you into someone who could not only receive the blessing, but reflect the glory that comes with it. Your breakthrough will reveal God's glory, and that glory will speak louder than anything you could ever say on your own.